Everybody, Autumn Stringam here. We're going to be talking about PMS right now. A question came in my secret mailbag. A woman asking about PMS symptoms and whether or not EMPowerplus should be working for her. So I have a personal opinion about that. I'll get into that maybe a little bit later. Might be a little TMI, but I wanted to just share this study with you. So I realized I did not check my mic, and I sure hope this is going well. Megan, can you double check if I've got sound? Just log in there. Okay, so I've got Megan over there. She's on her computer. She's going to just double check that I even have sound here because I didn't check my mic. Okay, premenstrual syndrome. There was a recent study published actually in 2020. Are we good? Thank you. A recent study published in 2020 about PMS. The preamble says that it affects 20 to 30% of women, but current medical treatments are limited in their efficacy. So if you've been dealing with PMS, you know, man, it is a brutal thing to just feel like you are a little bit out of control. And for like a good week out of every cycle. This is really interesting. What they did is they had 78 women come on and track their symptoms for 2 baseline cycles. And then they were randomized into using the formulation or using the EMPowerplus formulation or using a B6 formulation, just straight up B6. And then those results were compared. So, you know, how does it compare to B6, which is already proven in studies to be efficacious in reducing the symptoms. So really, basically, they're saying, okay, EMPowerplus has a lot of B6 in it. How does it compare when you add all those minerals? How does it compare to just a straight up B6 treatment? So here's what it all boils down to. Both groups showed a reduction in PMS symptoms, which you would fully expect because of the B6, but 72% of the EMPowerplus users identified, compared to 60% of the B6 users, identified as in full remission of their PMS symptoms after 3 cycles. So the EMPowerplus treated participants showed a greater improvement than the B6 group, and no serious adverse effects were reported. That's awesome. I think we know that if you've been using EMPowerplus, you know, there aren't any really serious side effects from that. And then with a greater effect of the micronutrients on the quality of life. So when these women were documenting on their charts, and I don't even know what all the questions were. I'd like to go in and take a look at what all of the questions were about it. But they reported a higher quality of life as a potential clinical benefit for the EMPowerplus users in the group who qualified for PMDD. So do you know what PMDD is? This is sort of like the amped up version of PMS. It's that whole dysphoric issue that comes up where there's just a little bit, how do I say that? I want to say a little bit of crazy going on. And I think I can say that because I've experienced it myself, but just way over the top. So for me, I think I probably qualify as somebody who has experienced some level of PMDD in my life, where it just goes beyond moodiness and bloating and all of that fun and actually gets like into your head. And I can tell you straight up, when I am on it with my supplements from about mid-cycle, I do so much better. But over the years, I've sort of figured out what works for me best. So I'll just tell you, taking the capsules for all of those years, that's great for me. If I need a little comfort food and I feel like I'm just not quite getting enough stability in the last half of my cycle, I will kind of take a few more of these, or I'll just take some extra lightning. But I will usually increase my dose, just bump it up, be a little bit more careful about not missing doses during that last half of the cycle. And at one point, I had an interesting conversation with with Dr. Bonnie J. Kaplan. And I think if she sees this, she's going to remember. We were in an elevator and we were talking about, number one, my infertility issues, post-psychiatric treatment. I had a good 7 years of not being able to get pregnant, get my hormones back in balance. And then also really struggling that last half of my cycle. And she's the one that first suggested, just like, why not just double up? Just increase the amount that you're taking during that time and then cut yourself some slack. You've been through a lot, you know? I'll never forget that conversation because it really helped me to realize that that's a real deal. And hormones play a massive role in our moods, and balancing hormones can be something that's really quite complicated. I've seen it again as I've gone from having regular cycles to not so regular cycles. Almost thought I had made it into menopause before things kicked into high gear again, which is really fun. But I have discovered that this time around, I'm really enjoying taking extra calcium. So those of you who are using Renova products, this is a Fortify. It's the brand. And those of you who are using True Hope, it's the BMD. It's the exact same tablets, just a different label. And in fact, I think some of you using Renova have probably even seen this label. I've been increasing this in the last half of my cycle and just getting a lot more of the calcium in. And for some reason, that seems to be helping with a lot of things. And I expect it. I expect that to continue on through menopause symptoms, really just needing that additional calcium. So use the Fortify or the BMD, use the EMPowerplus capsules or Lightning, and just kind of try to find a blend that's working for you. For the woman that wrote in about this, I know it's really hard. You know, you had a baby just a while ago, a few years ago. And so things are kind of in flux. I get it. And I don't know your exact age, but I think we're fairly close in age. And so you're going to be going through some real changes in your early 40s. You're going to be experiencing some major changes in the way that your body handles things and also in the way that you absorb nutrition. So stay on top of that and just be aware. There's enough research here to show that there is a marked difference for people who are using the full EMPowerplus formulation. And so you can count on that. You know that it works for a whole lot of people. And you're just going to have to kind of play around and figure it out. But I would recommend adding some of that Fortify or BMD calcium blend. It's perfectly balanced to go with the EMPowerplus formulation, so it's not going to mess up your balance for all of those other important reasons that you use EMPowerplus. And I think that it'll really help you to just feel better in general. When we get into our 40s, our absorption of calcium goes way down as our hormones change. Our ability to absorb micronutrients goes way down. It's a thing with reducing hormones, and so just know that's coming, and you can feel better by just staying on top of it and just being super regular with your supplementation. And I hope that Dr. Ruckledge and her partners over there in New Zealand, I hope that they will pick this one back up and do a full study over PMS and PMDD, because that is such an important issue for women. We need to know how to feel better and how to keep it together. And EMPowerplus is one of those ways, obviously, that really helps a lot of people. So if you have more questions, lean in on me on the DMs. My sweet daughter, Megan, is fielding a lot of questions lately. She's been sending messages to everybody. If you hear from Megan Stringham, she's on my team and she's helping a lot of people to feel better as well. So lean in for support with either Megan or with me, and tune in tonight, 7 o'clock. I think that's coming up in, just over an hour. I'm going to be back on with Dana Stringham. I'll be over live on my Instagram at Autumn Stringam. There's no H, but lean in over there if you want to hear more of our series called The Price of Discovery. We're talking about the EMPowerplus Discovery and how that impacted Dana personally as a support person. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. All right, we will see you out there. Bye-bye.